Good morning. It's good to see everybody today. Now, the last 6 or so weeks, I've been focused on each one of those encountering. I want to focus on the R, which is the last one next week. Next week, we have our Friend Day. And we want to encourage everybody to invite a friend to come here. And so it'll be a great time. We have a potluck next week. And you can tell them they don't have to bring food, but they can if they want. I like to try what other people make as well. Because I know some people, they feel awkward if they come and they're going to eat and they're not bringing any food. So they can bring something. So it's good. So I'm not going to focus on Redeemers this week. This lesson flows into that. So it's a two-parter. And so you need to come next week to see how it turns out. All right? And so we want to focus on this right here, purity. The purity aspect. So this is such a great topic. Quite a few of you told me that you were encouraged by the Encourage lesson last week, so this flows well with this as well. Purity, freedom from immorality or contamination. I tell you what, doesn't that sound good, to be free from contamination or morality? 1 Timothy 4:12 says this, "Let no one look down on your youthfulness." This is Paul speaking to Timothy. "But rather in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity, show yourself an example of those who believe." All right? Now, it's one thing to talk every way that you need to live your life. It's another one to show it. And Paul is saying you need to show by the way you live your life that you're a Christian. And he ended that one with purity. All those great aspects of being a good model, Christian model, he ended it with purity. And there's a reason why he ended it with that. So be pure for God and His ways and free from sin and wickedness. I tell you what, you may think, oh, why don't people come to church when I ask them to come to church? The biggest detriment to you bringing people to Christ may be you. Because if you're not living the Christian life and you tell people, you need to come to Christ, we love you so much, you'll get so much encouragement there, but you're known as someone being a discourager. And you know someone who's being kind of judging, kind of rude, and those other aspects, you may use some foul language, then if you're asking someone to come to church, then it's going to be a detriment of you being successful in that. So your example means a lot. Being pure for God is not just for God, it's also for yourself and for those around you. So, just curious, who likes to drink contaminated water? I'm just showing my hand as an example. No, oh, Barbara does. Well, who enjoys having friends that lie and steal? Hopefully you're not that friend. But no, you probably don't like to drink contaminated water. If you're like me, if you're at the restaurant, this happened to me a couple weeks ago, the waitress came and she had her finger in the water. So, okay, there you go. It was like, tempting, but no. Even though I didn't see any contamination in the water, I saw her finger was in the water. That was enough for me, right? And so, likewise, if you see someone who's not living the right life and they're trying to bring you something good, it's already contaminated, isn't it? It's already contaminated. And so if you have that option of drinking some good water or bad water, that's one of those rhetorical questions. Of course, I want uncontaminated water. It's the same with wanting friends. Your parents probably helped you with this or tried to help you with this when you're younger. You know what? Don't be friends with that person. I don't think they're going to be a good influence on you. Why do you say that? Because they're not the best person. Or they may not come from a very good family. Now, as a kid, that's hard to understand, isn't it? I remember my parents did that for me. Growing up, his name was Kevin, and my dad said, I don't want you to be close to him. I thought, oh, come on, he's a good guy. It's like, well, you know what? Just don't do it. You may find out later why. Now, thankfully, I listened to my dad, and I wasn't close to him, super close to him. And later, his older brother got arrested for dealing drugs, and he ended up getting arrested for dealing drugs as well. Now, I didn't understand any of that as a kid. As a second and third grader, he just came to church with us some, and I thought, oh, he's a nice guy. But my parents understood that. They saw some things with the family that weren't so good, and yet it passed down to the kids. It means something. Or if you see some kids or a good family, then you say, you know what? Why don't you be friends with these guys? This is a good family. And so we need to be wise in the friends that we choose, and we help with our kids as well. You're not being bad by trying to guide your kids to have good friends, okay? Psalm 73, verse 1. And if you want to turn to Psalm 73, I won't have the verses up there, but I'm going to talk about it later in my lesson. Surely God is good to Israel, to those who are pure in heart. Pure in heart. Now, this purity aspect, you can be pure and not be good. Have you ever thought of someone saying, they're just pure evil? Now, they're pure, but in a bad way. Right? So God wants people, and is good to people, and bless people that are pure in heart, that are akin to Him, following His instruction. That is so key. So just this idea of purity is nice, isn't it? We want our friends to be pure. We want our water to be pure. We want our family to be pure in good ways. Let that thought sink in as we strive to have that pure spirit. Because truth is, the impure taint and spoil the pure. All right? Once you add a little oil to the water, it's hard to get that out. All right? I just cleaned out my Keurig yesterday with some vinegar. It took a little while to get that vinegar taste out. I didn't want to say, okay, I'm ready for a cup of coffee right after I did that one time. All right? Because I didn't want that vinegar taste in my coffee. The impure taint and spoil the pure. Think about that as we sing these songs, and we'll come back to this point later. I'll tell you what, how many of you are feeling a little bit down, a little sick? There's quite a few people that I've been talking to who are feeling a little sick. I'm with you. So if I don't have the energy I usually have, I'm feeling a little bit down myself. So it's going around. I've probably 1 out of 10 people I've talked to that's not. So as we continue to talk about this being pure aspect, we have to talk about the holy aspect, to be holy with God. 1 Peter 1, 13 through 16 says this, therefore with minds that are alert and fully sober, set your hope on the grace to be brought to you when Jesus Christ is revealed at His coming. As obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. But just as He who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. For it is written, be holy, because I am holy. You know, God told this to us through Peter, and we're so glad. I love that passage there. Be holy as I am holy. As I just talked about, we need to be a good model, be a good example. Of course, God and Jesus are the perfect model and example for us. So with God telling us that, it's not that He wants us to be holy, but He doesn't live it. He absolutely lives it. And honestly, He can't have anything to do with people that are unholy. It's oil and water. He can't relate with us in that way. Hebrews 10:10 is so powerful. It says, by this will we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all. So there's nothing we can do to be holy ourselves, is there? We have to be sanctified by Jesus. He makes us holy through the sacrifice that He made. That's why we get baptized. We get baptized into His death, burial, and resurrection. And then we come out a new creation. And now because of that, because of the holiness we have through Jesus Christ, we're now dedicated. We're dedicated to God, and that helps us to be holy because we're made sacred. Do you have sacred things in your life? Maybe not because of spiritual, but it's just sacred to you. As a child, you know they have sacred things, whether it be their first stuffed animal. You know, that's sacred to them. Oh, are you done with this? We can throw it away. No! You know, even when you get 18 and that stuffed animal, even though it's like, I don't need it, but don't throw it away, right? I had a little blankie, a little blue blankie that one day disappeared. I don't know what happened to it, but my parents took it away. I guess I grew out of it, they decided. But to me as a kid, that was sacred to me, right? Now as we get older, the things that are sacred to us change. Our kids are kind of sacred to us. Our church is sacred to us. but we are made sacred to God. All right? Two different times. When we come into this world, we're made sacred. And when we get baptized, we're made sacred doubly to God because of Jesus. So we need to be pure in our devotion to Him. Pure in our devotion. Now, it's difficult, and it's a burden on all of us, and it's a burden on you, I know it is, when you have split devotion. If you have two friends that are pulling you two different ways, isn't that hard? When someone says, oh, do this, and the other one is contrary to them. No, you need to do that. It's burdensome, isn't it? Because you want to please both of them, but you have to choose one over the other. It's good when they know, no, this is what I believe, and this is how I'm going to live no matter what. I'm going to be pure in my devotion. But there's temptation there, isn't there? So with this passage here in 1 Peter, it's so great. Therefore, with minds, and you set your hope. With your minds, be serious with your thinking. Because it says there, that be alert and fully sober. Set your hope on the grace to be brought to you when Jesus Christ revealed at His coming. So, as obedient children, you set your minds and you be serious to set it on Jesus. Okay? And so be intentional with setting your hope on Jesus. It's not just going to happen one day. You need to be intentional about it. Your purity, you're not going to be pure by accident. Do we get good water through our faucets at home on accident? No. Thankfully, they go through a very stringent process to make sure we have good water. Now, is that good? Is that water good enough for you? Some of you may have water purifiers, water softeners. You know, even people that go through all that work to make sure you have good water is like, no, I want it even purer than that. Is it possible to get too pure water? Actually, it is. But you know what? We want the purest water we can get. And you may think, you know what? I want water straight from the river. I want to drink it that way. Well, you may end up with impure water. Or that, in some ways, that's pure water, but it can make you sick. You know, have you ever been to a country where they say, don't drink the water? I used to take kids to Mexico a lot. I'll say, don't drink the water. And I'd tell them, that means even brushing your teeth. But they would always forget it, right? They would brush their teeth with the water, and about a third of the kids would get sick in some way. And they think, oh! Or I was like, well, did you put ice in your water? In your bottled water? Oh! They don't think about that. Sin can be sneaky and get in your life and contaminate your life. And one way that sin gets in our life sneakily is like, this is natural. It's natural to do this or that. The devil will get in your life any way he can. So being holy will not happen by accident. You have to be diligent about it. You have to test the spirits and say, is this from God? Is this pure? Is this going to help me or hurt me? So this holiness aspect is so pivotal that we're pure in a good, holy way. And like I said earlier, not pure in an unholy way against God. Because a lot of people are this way. They'll be pure, but not with the wrong intentions. Okay? So this, do not be contaminated. We need to think about this. 1 Peter 1:14, as obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. That's okay to a certain thing. I didn't know better, Dad, Mom. I didn't know better. Well, now you know. What are they going to say next time? I knew and I made the decision to do it. Which way is worse? The second, of course. Now, both have the same outcome, all right? Both are bad. But the first is definitely, you know, you're ignorant, but you're not ignorant. Definitely as Christians, you're now made aware of the choices that you make. So it's good to be obedient children. And I love how often they use children as an example here. Why? Because as little kids, you're made holy. You know, I believe all of us are in agreement that little kids, they're not sinning, right? They're pure in their motives and their thoughts, good and bad. You know, it's cute when a kid confesses what they did wrong, right? Oh, thanks for telling me. I had no idea that wrong thing. But they're so pure in their intentions, they want to be right in all ways. And so as children, we're made pure. I believe that. We mess it up later. And so, but we were made, God made us to stay pure that way. You know, in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were made to stay that way forever. That beautiful pureness and innocence. And so it's interesting, isn't it? As we get older, we always want to get to the next level of maturity. You remember in middle school, you couldn't wait to get to high school. I can't wait to get to high school. I have a lot more freedom. I can do a lot more things. And you're in high school, what were you looking forward to? Going to college or getting that first big job. And then you get that job or you get out of college, and what are you thinking about? Getting your own place. And then you get to a certain level. Okay, I want to work back to getting to that first level. I liked it when I didn't have to have so many worries and concerns. I liked it when I wasn't worried about the food where it comes from tomorrow. Because as a kid, you don't worry about any of that, do you? You don't say, do we have enough food this week as a kid? I never asked that. Maybe in some places they do, but I never did. But now, well, you understand, oh, it's because I go out and buy the food. That's why the kids don't have to worry about it. But see, we grow and mature in our ways, and it brings a different way of thinking. So sin is going away from God, and it contaminates us. You know, a little sin goes a long way. A little sin goes a long way in contaminating your spirit and separating you from God. Look back here in Psalm 73. That first verse is great. Surely God is good to Israel, to those who are pure in heart. But this is why he said that. In verse 2, but as for me, my feet came close to stumbling. My steps had almost slipped. For I was envious of the arrogant as I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Now, isn't that interesting that he would be envious of the arrogant? It's embarrassing sometimes when you catch yourself being envious of people who aren't living for God. Whether it be a sports athlete or someone who has a lot of money or someone who has a lot of friends the wrong way. And we can get envious of them. Say, oh God, please help me not to do that. For there are no pains in their death, and their body is fat. They are not in trouble as other men, nor are they plagued like mankind. Therefore pride is their necklace, the garment of violence covers them. Their eye bulges from fatness. Now, this is back in the day when it was good to be fat, okay? The imagination of their heart run riot. They mock and wickedly speak of oppression. They speak from on high. They have set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue parades through the earth. Now, all the posters that kids have on their walls of people, how many of those people are godly people? Probably not many, right? A lot of them are movie stars and people that get famous by living immoral lives. And yet people look up to them. Oh, this person says this. I want to listen to that. When they bring us away from God. So Psalm 73, he says, you know, God wants the pure in heart. And he says that because I almost fell away. I was tempted to listen to the haughty, to the arrogant, to those that go away from God. And it's true, a little yeast contaminates the whole batch of dough. Just like a little contamination ruins the whole batch of water. I don't know if you heard, but Tyson just recalled, I think it was 30,000 pounds of chicken? Because they said, oh, there may be some metal shards in the chicken. Oops. No, that's pretty serious, isn't it? Now, they didn't know where the metal went to, but it contaminated the whole batch. They say it has to be all thrown out. Bring it all back, and we'll give you some fresh, good stuff where it has a little bit less metal in it. All right? But see, that ruined everything. Even though they didn't know, they knew it wasn't in all the chicken, but it ruined all the chicken they made for that time period. Sin is that way in our life, people. You may think, I just do a little sin, but I have so much good in my life. It doesn't work that way. A little sin contaminates the whole body. You can't say, okay, I got this little drop of unhealthiness in my water, but I'm sure the rest of the water is good. I'll use my straw and get that good water out. No. How can you do that in your life? If you have sin, if you have badness in your life, it contaminates all of you. All of you is contaminated and separated from God. So you were made beautiful, wonderful, holy. Holy, I mean that. You were made holy. But we sin and we break the holiness that we were made with God. And like I said earlier, Jesus helps remedy that. I'm going to talk about that a lot more next week. So it's good to be pure, isn't it? What a blessing it is to be pure. Titus 1:15 says, to the pure all things are pure. But to those that are corrupted and do not believe, nothing is pure. In fact, both their minds and consciences are corrupted. Now, I know you've seen this in a lot of ways in your life. But to the pure, people tell the truth. You're trusting, right? People say, oh, who wrote that red gullible word up on the ceiling there? And people go, what? You know? When you tell the truth all the time and you're honest, you expect that from other people. Oh, I'm sure they'll tell me the truth. It's okay. And everybody can be trusted. You know, this is why we have to teach our kids, you can trust these people, but be careful. You can't trust these people. We don't know them very well, right? Stranger danger. Because kids naturally, they trust. They're going to believe adults, because adults are people supposed to be trusted. And they want to help. Kids, once again, a great example of kids, they want to help. Even in times where they shouldn't, right? It's like putting wood in a fireplace, a 3-year-old, I want to do that. No. Accidentally pick you up and throw you in there with the wood. No, don't do that. And so kids, lovely, they want to help. Now to the corrupted, people lie. People lie. Everybody's a liar. You can't trust anybody. Now, sadly, when people that think that everybody lies, that's a good hint that maybe they lie. If people don't trust anybody, then maybe you can't trust them. And mostly they look out for number one. Well, good, pure people in God, they look out for others. Now, I understand there's a lot of in-between here, all right, between the pure contaminated person and the purest person to God. There's a lot of in-between, isn't there? But what we need to be going towards is that way to the left, there. Matthew 5:8, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the pure heart, for they will see God. Why is that? Have you thought about that? In the Beatitudes there? Why will the pure in heart see God? Because they see good in everything. They see God everywhere. They're pure. They can't imagine people that will want to do people harm, and it's bad. Now, we should strive to be pure like children, but we need to be wise. Unfortunately, we live in a broken world. We live in a place that people take advantage of us. Now, the temptation here is to go the way of not trusting anybody, think that everybody's a liar, but we need to be wise in it. But it's still okay to be naive, all right? What God calls pure, the world calls naive. The world's going to give a negative spin on it. But it's good to be naive to evil, isn't it? It's good to be innocent. Once again, what God calls innocent, the devil in the world calls naive. Just to let you know, you're going to get taken advantage of from time to time. Even being wise in some ways, if you're staying pure with God, you're going to look at the best in people. That's not bad. That's good to look at the best in people. But you're going to, I know it happens to me. I'm pretty gullible in trusting people, and it's going to get me from time to time. But I'd rather say to God, you know what, God? I trusted and believed people in the goodness than always looking for the bad in people. And so that's going to get us sometimes. that pure and holy aspect. 1 Peter 15 through 16. But like the Holy One who called you, be holy yourselves also in all your behavior. Because it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy. So we're made for holiness. Not just to be holy, but for holiness. To do holy things. You know, I'm not going to make something and not use it. God didn't make you and not want to use you to do holy things. So this is an easy test to do. Think about what you do in your life. Think about this last week. And if you look strictly at what you did this last week, could you decide, is that holy or not holy? Or somewhere in between? All right? Are you doing things that are for holiness that other people can see, okay, this person is doing holy things? Now, all of you go to work, so just saying going to work, maybe not say I'm holy or not holy, but then you can ask the question, how was I at work? How did I live in the workplace? Was I truthful to the point that it even convicted me? Or did I cut corners? Did I turn the other eye, especially when it profited me? Okay? Were you holy this week or not so holy? Now, when you do things in your life, no matter what aspect, that are unholy, it contaminates you completely. So the aspect of Jesus making us holy, He continues to make us holy. We continue to need to come to Jesus in the blood of Jesus to ask for forgiveness. It's not just a one-time thing that we do it and we never have to deal with Jesus again. So you decide to do so. Mental is a huge aspect of our spirituality. We have to think about it and decide, I'm going to be holy. I'm going to do what's right before the situation comes up. When there's a time to cheat, let's say taxes, it's getting close to tax season, or maybe you've already done your taxes, that's a temptation to a lot of people. Oh, who will know, right? God always knows. And we shouldn't do it for other people to make other people happy. We should always do it to please God. 1 John 3, 2 through 3. Beloved, now we are children of God, and it has not appeared as yet what we will be. We know that when He appears, we will be like Him, because we will see Him just as He is. And everyone who has this hope fixed on Him purifies himself just as He is pure. Now, Jesus was pure 100%. And this hope of being like Jesus purifies us. What is your goal that you're going towards? If it's not Jesus, then you're not going to be pure like Him. Career, hobby, all that stuff aside, our long-term goal should be Jesus. I want to be like Jesus in every way. Now, with all your personalities and all the way specifically how God made you, that's going to exude in different ways. That's beautiful. The way Jesus is in me is going to be different the way Jesus is in you in some ways. And that's great. So rejoice in your holiness in Jesus and sacrifice to remain pure in it. Because it's going to take sacrifice. You have to sacrifice some things that may be pleasurable, that may be fun, in order to stay pure. And in all honesty, that's going to be the most fun life. A pure life with no regrets. Isn't it great not to have regrets? And living with God and Jesus and being pure in a holy way, you don't have regrets. Do you have regrets? Oh, I spent too much time at church last week. Or you know what? I had that conversation with that person and that was going through a tough time. I regret doing that. You don't. I have yet to be with a dying person that said, I should have spent more time on myself. No one says that. If anything, they said, I should have focused some more on my family. I should have reached out to some of those people. I should have lied less. I should have been less selfish. The world says just the opposite, doesn't it? You need to focus on yourself some more. You need to think about what makes yourself happy. Get out of this life for everything you can. No, that's not what God says. Less of self and more of God. That's the way we need to be. And then we become uncontaminated. Because even though we were made pure in a good way, we've become contaminated. I want to talk about next week how Jesus purifies us more. And if you have friends and family that message will really speak to, bring them. This would be a good time. Because it's full hope. It's wonderful hope that we can be pure again. It's the devil that tells us you can never be made right again. But we can. And maybe this speaks to you today. Maybe you realize, you know what? I need to come to God. Maybe for the first time and get baptized and be made pure. Become a new creation as we see there in Romans 7 and 6. It's a beautiful life. It's a good life. It's a pure life. Please come forward as we sing this song.